I will do that. Okay, we are now recording. Okay. So I'm just going to start off and hopefully I don't have to edit too much, but here we go. All right.
Okay, let's go.
Okay.
What it will be, will be.
Whatever will be. Exactly. We keep it cash. Soy Minerva Perez, soy la directora ejecutiva de Hola, a Vista Long Island, y estoy aquí con Isabel Sepulveda de Scanlon, la presidente de la Junta Directiva, ¿sí?
Sí.
Sí, ok.
Sí.
Y,
perfecto.
Sí, gracias. Y es un placer, es mi placer para entrevistar a Isabel especialmente sobre este tema de la película que se llama No, de Chile. Pero yo voy a hablar en inglés porque es más fácil para mí y Isabel va a hablar en los dos porque
tratar.
pero para este entrevistar. Entonces, por favor, to start with, please, Isabel, tell us a little bit about you and a little bit about the work that you're doing. No, maybe not. Let me hold on a second.
Yeah, otherwise it will get too long.
No, exactly. Yeah, you're right. I'll edit this part.
Yeah.
So what we want to start with here is there's a film that I'm going to just show everyone. Let me just do a screen share. I'm going to show you this image. Here we go. Can we all see this? Uh-oh, hold on a second. There. Can we see this?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So this is a film called No, directed by Pablo Larraín. From Chile, and it's the winner of 13 different awards, and it's an amazing film. We have Isabel Sepulveda de Scanlon to talk about her own experience during the time that the subject matter of this film actually happened in Chile. So if you want to just describe a little bit of that, Isabel.
Yeah, hi Minerva, thank you for having me. You know, I think we have to go back to what happened in 1970. In 1970, we had a presidential election, and one of the candidates, Dr. Salvador Allende, was one of the candidates, and he won the election. It was the first socialist, I mean, openly socialist, who won an election. And of course, the right wing of my country and the USA, the CIA, Nixon, Kissinger weren't happy at all. Lo que pasó en esa época, tengo que decirlo, que por primera vez era elegido un presidente que era un candidato socialista, el doctor Salvador Allende. Él ganó la elección, pero al ganar la elección, la derecha estaba furiosa, pero también Estados Unidos, que en esa época el presidente era Nixon y Kissinger estaba como Secretary of State. Y bueno, y desde entonces, o sea, trataron de hacerle la guerra. From that moment on, when they weren't happy, they did not make things easier for him. So, and in 1973, we had a coup d'etat where Allende, the government was overthrown. Allende was killed in the palace. The palace was bombarded by Air Force fighter planes, I mean, real fighter planes against one building. And lo que pasó el 11 de septiembre de 1973 es que los aviones bombarderos de la Fuerza Aérea bombardearon el Palacio de la Moneda. Y al mismo tiempo, todos los edificios alrededor del palacio tenían francotiradores, o sea, habían soldados. Fue como una guerra, pero en el fondo era una guerra contra la gente. It was a war against the people. And one of the things when Allende knew that morning that the coup was started, he went into the radio station, only one radio station that he could speak, all the other ones, they were right wing, so they wouldn't allow him to speak. And he asked the people, not to go on the street. He didn't want them to be killed because of, you know, stay home, don't go out, because people were ready to go out in the street and fight the army, but with what? With a rifle against a tank. Mm-hmm. So he didn't want bloodshed. So his last speech, I mean, it's so emotional every time I hear it, because he talks from his heart, and he talked that someday, because it's a big avenue called Alameda in Chile, and he said in his speech that someday the Alamedas will open free, where the men, the peasant, the working can walk freely. Oh, it's so touching. En el último discurso de él, que lo transmitieron en la mañana, él le pide a la gente que no salgan a las calles porque van a ser asesinados, y él no quiere ver correr la sangre del pueblo, pero en su discurso también dice que algún día las grandes alamedas se abrirán para el hombre libre. They would open for the free man. So it was really touching. Every time I hear that speech, because I remember that morning. I didn't go to school.
How old were you? Let's stop for a second and know. Let's who was Isabel when you were 15 years old?
Around 15, 16. Yeah, I was in high school. My older brother, he went to school that morning. Even so, it was they were talking about something was going on, and my brother's school was 2 blocks from the palace. But he went to school. He was such a good student. He didn't want to miss one day of school. That was my brother. I did not go to school. And from that moment on, I mean, bloodshed started, because people will be stopped in the street. If you were a woman and you were wearing pants, the army will cut you pants, like, because they say women should be wearing skirts, no pants. And it was a young guy with long hair, they will cut their hair because they say that's a woman. Long hair is only for women. They were burning.
But Isabel, but before you get to the next one, and essentially this was happening not just during that military, the first few days of that, this was happening throughout the entire 17 years of that.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah. You know, we are big in soccer.
Español, because I think we might have missed something in Spanish.
But let me tell you about the books, and then even the books. I mean, they were making piles in the street and burning books. I mean, anything that had to do with education, feeding you brain, for them, it was the enemy. So even books about Cubism, you know, they for them, it was about Cuba. So they had to burn it. I mean, una de las cosas que hicieron, aparte, empezaron a hacer persecución. Las mujeres que andaban con pantalones, porque ya en esa época las mujeres estaban usando pantalones, la policía y los soldados le cortaban los pantalones porque decía que la mujer tenía que usar falda, que ese era el rol de la mujer, la falda. A los chicos que usaban el pelo largo, les cortaban el pelo porque decía un hombre no usa pelo largo. Los chicos con barba o los hombres con barba, les hacían cortar la barba o se lo llevaban prisionero porque la barba era de revolucionarios. Los libros hacían fogatas en las calles con los libros. Todo lo que fuera educativo, que le fuera a abrir la mente a la gente, para ello era peligroso. Por ejemplo, los libros que hablaban sobre cubism, cubanismo, que es el arte, ¿no es cierto? Es arte, es una expresión de arte. Para ellos hablaba sobre Cuba, por lo tanto había que eliminarlo, había que quemarlo. O sea, era una ignorancia a tal punto, pero ahí empezó con una persecución al país. Increíble. El Chile y los países sudamericanos, tú sabes que les encanta jugar fútbol, soccer. The Chilean and many South American, they play soccer big time. The stadium, the national stadium, was turned into a concentration camp. Nuestro estadio nacional, donde jugaban los partidos de fútbol, fue transformado en un centro de concentración, with torture, everything. I mean, killing people there, torturing people there. My own father ended up there. That's el campo el Estadio Nacional se transformó en un campo de concentración donde mataban y donde torturaban. Mi propio padre terminó en ese lugar. O sea, me llevó muy, muy, muy cerca. Y it touched me very, very close, everything that was going on, because my father was very involved in politics.
What was your father doing at that time involved in politics?
Well, he was just a worker, but with a very strong social conscience, very strong. And he even joined the Communist Party. But for you to join the Communist Party, you have to be accepted. You can't just sign in. So it was a whole process for him to become part of the party and get his ID and everything. It was a big deal, because I guess there's a lot of loops for you to get there. En Chile, para que tú seas parte del Partido Comunista, tú tienes que aplicar y tienes que pasar diferentes etapas. Y mi papá estaba feliz porque él las pasó todas y tenía su carnet. Entonces, in my neighborhood, people knew he was a lefty. I mean, everybody knew. And I think somehow they told the military that my dad was a lefty, because my house was raided 7 times by the Air Force, the Army, the police. And that's how they took, one of those nights, they took my dad. Mi casa fue allanada por lo menos 7 veces por la Fuerza Aérea, por los militares y por la policía. Y en una de esas veces se llevaron a mi papá al Estadio Nacional, that concentration camp. And he told us, I mean, thank God he didn't get killed. I mean, he was the one of the lucky ones. Mi papá tuvo suerte de no ser asesinado en el campo de concentración, pero mi papá en ese momento, cuando salió, empezó a preparar su viaje para salir del país. When he got out, my dad right away started making all the necessary arrangement for him to leave the country. So he went to live in Venezuela. He lived in Venezuela for over 10 years, maybe 12. Yeah.
And where
Mi papá
were you
vivió en Venezuela más de 12.
De 12 años, sí.
12 años, claro.
And where were you living at that time when your father had to leave the country? Where were you?
We lived outside of Santiago, like 40 minutes from downtown. We have like a farm. It was my grandfather's. When my grandfather died, my mom, which was the daughter, she inherited that. So we have left Santiago to go and live there. So that's where we were living. And nosotros vivíamos en la afuera de Santiago en una parcela que era de mi abuelo, pero mi mamá la había heredado. Pero at the same time, because we have a big land, the Army and the Air Force, and every time they went, they were looking for arms. They say our land was, it has arms hiding underground. I mean, they went all over. I mean, they never found anything. Only one gun called 32, that it was my dad's gun that he had in his night table. That's it. Solamente mi papá tenía una pistolita que era la pistola de él que tenía en su velador, pero aparte de eso nunca encontraron nada.
So,
porque no había nada.
So then the 17 years that this was going on, how old were you when finally we're getting to the point where this referendum starts happening? How old were you then?
Okay, I have left Chile in 1980 because I married somebody from Ohio and I came to live in the United States. I lived in Chicago and then in California. But by 1984, I have got back. I was separated and I went back to Chile. And that's, I mean, things, you always have to be careful what you say in the street or anywhere, because you never know. You never knew who was listening, and they could do a phone call, something, you know, or somebody could grab you if you're talking in the bus and you say something against the government. You could have taken right from there. Tú tenías que tener mucho cuidado lo que decías, dónde lo decías y a quién se lo decías, porque nunca sabías que podía a lo mejor estar criticando el gobierno y alguien te podía agarrar y llevarte.
So then about 17 years later, Pinochet, the dictator at that time, who was the one who was leading this coup along with support from other countries, when he, at this point, there was pressure that he felt because he was already in power now as a dictator for 17 years. He felt pressure to put something out there as a political referendum, as a vote to say, hey, do you want me to stay in power for another 8 years? Can you say that in Spanish?
Bueno, en realidad fue tanta la presión que fue creciendo en el mundo, por los países de todo el mundo, para que Pinochet llamara a un plebiscito, ¿ok? A un referéndum. la presión fue tan grande que él se sintió que tenía que hacerlo, porque se le estaban cerrando muchas puertas. Many doors were being closed to him. So, but he was convinced he was going to win. Él estaba convencido que él iba a ganar. Las personas que the people who work with him, they convince him not to worry, you're going to win, you know. So he did it. I mean, he called for the referendum, él llamó al plebiscito y lo perdió.
Okay.
Pero lo más increíble fue lo que se creó en ese momento. The most amazing thing it was created when they say, okay, we're going to have a referendum. It was between yes or no. Because a lot of the artists and people from the cultural world, in Chile at least, they are very lefty. They are very left. And they are very creative. So they came out with this amazing campaign of the no. It was very...
But again, just so we're clear, the yes would, if you voted yes, it would be to have him in power for another 8 years. And if you voted no, it was to not have him in power.
Bueno, la cosa era con el plebiscito que si ganaba el sí, significaba que Pinochet iba a gobernar por 8 años más. Y si ganaba el no, Pinochet tenía que llamar a elecciones. He would have to call for elections. Eso era lo fundamental del plebiscito. Sí, me quedo 8 años, no, me voy. O sea, llamo a elecciones. Yeah.
Okay. So then this campaign, and I do want to make the point that I know that the artists were more lefty or whatever, but we're not, we're talking about basic civil rights, how you wear your hair, how you dress as a woman. So even though it may have been lefties and artists that helped this campaign, but it was for the rights of all people in Chile, humans.
But also they connect with what people want: education, art, health. I mean, they connect with the people's need. It's a whole different way of view life that somebody from the right wing. I see that the people are more caring. For me, it's important that you have education, that you have health, you have a home, housing. I mean, all the basic right of anybody to have what they need to have to live. Yeah.
So then this campaign started, and how did you first hear about this campaign?
Oh, I mean, estaba en la boca de todos. It was all over. I mean, we were all like so excited. I mean, I was working in, by then I was working in a hotel, the name Carrera Hilton, which was diagonal from the palace. The palace that was bombarded in 1973. Now it was 1988, I think it was. And I was working in that hotel at the reservation department. And it was interesting because it was so historical. And I went to all the marches. I mean, I went as many meetings I could go. Mi trabajo, que era el Hotel Carrera Hilton, estaba diagonal al palacio, el mismo palacio de gobierno que había sido bombardeado en el 73. Y claro, o sea, yo me involucré desde el primer momento, yendo a las marchas, haciendo todo lo que había que hacer para aumentar el que la gente saliera a votar.
Sí, but this was dangerous. Explain the danger around what it was like to say this openly. You couldn't just say it openly. People were kind of hiding some of this as well, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, when you went to the rallies, you could feel free to just open because it was so many people that you just were one more in those thousands of people. Cuando eran las marchas por el no, eran tan grandes, que tú te sentías segura, porque era un mar de gente. Entonces, te protegías porque había mucha gente, pero sola, así, caminando, diciendo eso del no. O sea, era como para temer porque no sabías tú quién iba a estar al lado tuyo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then when was this, the referendum actually happened in 1988? That's when the vote actually happened?
Yeah.
So what did it feel like when you won?
To me, I mean, the moment that I was leaving, even having work at that hotel, because that hotel was the center for all the journalists from all over the world, and I was working there, so it was more encouraging. Somebody from Newsweek, Time Magazine, New York Times, they were all there, and so you felt the excitement because all these people wanted to tell the world what was going on there.
Mm-hmm.
To me, muy emocionante el solo recordarlo. I mean, even remembering being there, oh my God, to me, it was a happy time. Living that moment where I was, where I can say, God put me there. That's so weird. I could have ended up working anywhere else, but I was working in that place in the center of Santiago, diagonal to that palace, and we were going to vote no, you know? O sea, Dios me puso ahí, en ese lugar, diagonal al palacio, donde era el centro de los periodistas del mundo, que era todo efervescente, había mucha energía, era increíble, fue increíble. You would have loved it. You would have loved it.
I would have. Yeah. Wow. Well, so then I want to just, because we'll end this this interview now, but I want to jump to the present moment, because you were just sharing with me the fact, and I think it's a great way to explain how important a vote is and what it means to care about the country that you're living in and also the country that you came from. So tell us a little bit about a referendum that just happened, that you just got to vote on from New York.
Sunday. Okay, that dictatorship wrote a whole new constitution that would have benefited him and his people. Pinochet escribió una constitución completamente nueva, okay? Todos estos años, all this year, we had to live by his constitution. And the same politicians, left or right, they weren't willing to do anything. They were just going with the flow. But last year, October 14, the young people 15 and 16, took to the street in their uniform. These kids, they went in the subway, they went in the street, they started doing barricade. I mean, they took over. And they woke something up on older people. Los jóvenes, el año pasado, el 18 de octubre, salieron a las calles y empezaron a marchar y a protestar. Some kids got killed. Some kids got blind because the police was shooting a bullet gun to them. But they changed. Through that moment on, it created this change because it was they wouldn't leave the streets. They were there day and night. And so they knew, the politicians, they knew they had to do something. They were destroying Santiago. I mean, really, with hammer or whatever they had, they would tear things apart. Ellos estaban destruyendo, o sea, era una forma de protestar porque no podían, ¿qué más podían hacer? No tenían nada, o sea, era ellos, la vida de ellos y el pedir un cambio. They wanted a change. So it came that the only thing was to ask the people if they wanted a new constitution. That was the question. It was two questions. One was, do you want a new constitution? Yes, ¿apruebas o desapruebas? Okay. ¿Tú quieres una nueva constitución? Aprueba, desaprueba, approve, disapprove. Sunday, we went to vote and 78% of the votes, they say, yes, we want a new constitution. And the other question was, who do you want to write the constitution? The political parties, a mix with the people, a higher percentage voted, I think at 79, voted no. We want the people to write it. We don't want the politicians to write it. We want to be part of it. They can help us, but we want to be the one putting the foundation for the new constitution. Así que votó que la gente iba a escribir la constitución con la ayuda de gente con conocimiento, pero iban a ser las personas las que iban a hacer la parte de la base para crear una nueva constitución. Big times in the world. Los tiempos en este mundo está cambiando y para bien, o sea. súper importante. O sea, yo me fui el domingo temprano en domingo, levantarme temprano. I got up earlier on a Sunday as a big deal for me, because I knew how important it was to vote. Para mí era muy, muy, muy importante el levantarme temprano e ir a votar. Y lo hice. You're mute.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of close up the interview by thanking Isabel so much for sharing some of this from her life and how important it is, and also to let everyone know that this film is going to be available through Parish Museum, through OLA's 17th annual Latino Film Festival. And you just go to the Parish website or to the OLA Facebook page. Any information you want about the film, you can always just call OLA. 631-899-3441. We urge you to see this film. And Isabel, if you could share that, and that'd be great.
Sí, es súper importante que veamos la película, o sea, sobre todo los momentos que estamos viviendo. Pueden ir a la página de Facebook de OLA, o a la página, no tanto al web, pero también a la página de Facebook y también en Instagram, ¿no es cierto? Y ahí pueden tener toda la información que necesitan. You know, Minerva, I wanted to tell you and our friends too that it's a movie called Missing with Jack Lemmon. And that is what happened in Chile. I mean, it's so good. So I think it got an Oscar. But also what is so interesting that 2 journalists were killed in 73 in Chile from New York. And it's so interesting because one time in East Hampton, I met the mother of one of those guys. And then later on in Facebook, I became friend with the widow of the other one. Till today. I mean, the woman comes to the Hamptons and she lives in Manhattan, and she created a foundation after this young journalist, her husband. Yeah, very interesting.
Wow. Well, Isabel, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're excited. You're welcome. We're excited to see all of you out there to try to join this film. There are some seats available at the Parish Museum on November 13th. 5:30 p.m. is a reception, but you have to do all of this, get tickets beforehand, get them online beforehand. There's very limited space, and otherwise watch it through a link on your computer.
¿Cuántos asientos va a abrir el parish? ¿Cuánto va a tener para en forma
Pienso que
presencial?
solo 40. I think there's only 40 seats available.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we want to be there, which we have to do it as soon as possible. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can buy the tickets. Okay.
Thank you, Isabel.
Okay. Nos vemos.
Nos vemos.
Chao.
Chao.